Hello, Alex. It's Alex here from Fit a Body Ladies, and I sound very croaky today. I've got a little bit of a cold. It's December the 11th. We are a couple of weeks off the end of 2023. Can we all believe it? This started just under a year ago, and we are now coming towards the end of the year. So today I'm joined by somebody I've worked with personally, Sean, who is here to talk to us. He's going to talk a little bit about his experience in the fitness industry, his own personal experiences of mental health, and how he sees mental health playing a key role in people achieving their goals when it comes to fitness, weight loss, and really life in general. So, Sean, introduce yourself to us and tell everybody how you know me.
Okay. So, Alex, we worked together for...
We did.
What, best part of a
year? Yeah, best part of a year.
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I could say we spent probably more time chatting than we did
We're working
doing
out.
too much fitness.
Yeah.
Sporadic.
Sporadic, yes.
My experience in fitness. So I started back in 2008, 2009 when I joined the army, and my love for fitness, you know, from childhood all the way through to then going into the army, sort of fit perfectly for what I was doing in the job.
Okay.
Whilst in the army, I then became a physical training instructor, which is effectively keeping all of the soldiers fit and healthy.
So basically, your boot camp, proper boot camp instructor.
Yeah,
shouting,
shouting.
Give me 100 burpees.
Literally 100 burpees.
Brilliant, love that.
The difference in that environment is I was required to be a certain level of fitness as well. Okay. So I need to be leading from the front.
You need
rather
to
than just
150 burpees.
Yeah, so I need to be able to do it. Now, the one thing about that is you could mask that a lot. So if you were out on a run, for instance, I'd probably throw a couple of extra exercises in for them if there were some people quicker than me.
Okay.
Because I didn't want them to think they were quicker than me. Yeah. They probably still figured it out.
Yeah. And how often do you train? Like, if you're not in a war zone, how often are you kind of training?
Every single day. Sometimes once or twice. It depends on what you're really up to be honest. Now mixing
both men and female. Men and women?
For us, it was mainly men at the time.
Okay.
I was an infantry regiment, so at the time, only men could join the infantry. Okay. It's different now. Women can join the infantry.
Can they?
I'd say that the percentage is still a massive split.
Yeah.
But it's going in sort of that direction now where actually you can have a mixture of men and women in the infantry. Okay. So that was where sort of the PT side of life started for me.
Yeah.
And then
how old were you at that point?
21.
Oh, baby.
I know, yeah. I was so...
God, I was having children at that point.
Right.
Yeah, 2008.
Lively. And so, yeah, actually, you know what? It was really enjoyable. Social life was really good. Fitness and everything that we were doing was generally a pretty good lifestyle. Things started to change. I took a bit of a serious injury, playing sport, actually. So I managed to go away with the army and go on tour and fight in war zones and not get injured. And then I come back and get injured on the sports field.
Brilliant.
And that was kind of the end of my military career.
And how long had you been in?
7 years.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So
from 16?
From 17. 17, 18, still young. So I'd planned to stay in for 24 years. So my entire plan changed.
Okay.
So once I decided that I was leaving the army, I then said, right, I'll go into something that I think I can do fairly well, and that was physical training.
Yeah.
So I approached different gyms around this local area a year in advance. Now, what I hadn't realised is in the military, they give you a year in advance to do as many courses as you can before you get out. So you're qualified and ready to go to what we call Civvy Street.
Okay.
And what I didn't realise when you go into Civvy Street is it's very different. So I hadn't been in Civvy Street as an adult. I'd only been as a child. So I'd not lived actually, you know, I'd not paid bills. I'd not done anything. Yeah. So when I walked into this one gym and said I really want a job, gave them a few credentials, spoke to the manager, said, great, when you can start? I was like, 12 months' time. And they were baffled.
They were like, what?
Why are you here? Why are you here 12 months in advance?
Because you know how to...
So I explained to them, and sort of I'd say quarterly, I went back to remind them that I was still there and still keen. And then when I left the army, I actually walked straight into the job. So it was still went through the interview process, but it was more of a tick box. It was a nice transition. I really got on with the team there.
So when you first started, wherever you went to, were you in your head thinking, I'm going to be training these people like I've been training?
Yeah.
And they
and it's a big shock to the system. You can't
train,
swear at people.
Can't train Jane who's 50
you can't.
to do 150
and
burpees.
You know what? It worked for a period of time because at that time, there was 4 or 5 of us that had all left the military, different branches.
Yeah.
But we all came with a similar kind of mindset.
Okay.
And it really helped pick up the team of PTs that was already there.
Yeah.
We had, for a corporate gym, we had like 15 PTs on the floor at any one time.
Yeah.
And the energy was really good.
Okay.
There was thousands of members at this club, and it was a really good environment for training.
You can say where you were at.
No.
They've just been done up.
They have. They have had a big do up.
People don't like it.
No, they not like it? Oh, no.
No.
So, yeah, it was a really good energy on the floor, and that kind of way of training worked for that time.
Yeah.
So for the first couple of years, 2015, I hit sort of peak part of my career at that stage. I was voted top PT in the country for that company.
Perfect.
Which was great. When you go down and see the awards, you've got all these London clubs that think they're something else.
And there you are.
Yeah, and there I am, just from Northampton coming in. And that was really good. It was a really good time. And I was really enjoying it. It was challenging. It was cutthroat a little bit on the sales. So it was really sales orientated. Yeah. But if you kept on top of your business, you learnt business skills pretty quick.
Yep.
And to keep on top of your diary.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was
good.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time, yeah.
And how long were you there?
I was there, 2013, 2018. So, yeah, 5 years.
And then you set up?
Then I set up my own business, yeah.
Okay. And that has gone reasonably well until...
the business went really well. It started off so originally the business was more like what I'm doing now, actually.
Okay.
It was... And we can go on to why that changed in the first place.
But
in a chronological order sense. We started working with young offenders and ex-offenders.
Okay.
And people that were risk of NEET. So they're in school.
Is that because you felt that was where your background would...
Well, it originally happened by chance. So we were asked to come and help with some young offenders.
Yeah.
Because they needed something a bit different. The guy that was currently doing their fitness, something just wasn't clicking.
Yeah, okay.
We went in and...
Probably similar age. Like you was closer in age maybe than...
And coming back with sort of the experience of being military, they were asking us questions on session number 1 that even the staff there weren't expecting to come out. Okay. And because we didn't sort of hide away from answering them, but then we challenged their... way of thinking and their perceptions and hit it off from day one.
Okay.
And it progressed then from, doing fitness with them to then actually cooking basic meals with them. So what we
Teaching life skills.
Teaching life skills. So what we recognise really quickly is here are some children that have had a completely fractured upbringing and are still in that environment. And they've not got some structure.
Yeah.
So we put in a bit of structure. We taught them how to cook basic meals, fairly healthy, but basic
how
skills.
To cook spaghetti bolognese or cheese on toast. Or
they knew that 2 days a week they were sat down having a meal with friends, and it was a place that felt homely to them.
Yeah.
And the impact started to come from there, and so that's where the business started. Effectively,
okay.
It was never what it's become today.
No.
The gym side of life sort of took a back burner. We were still PTing. Where we were, and still doing all of that while the business was running. But 2018, we sort of took the plunge and went into the business full time. Mm-hmm. And then 2019, that's where it first kicked off in the first gym. And that's where it's progressed to today. Now, I'm no longer part of that business. And that's probably for a different podcast.
Yes, a different podcast. Different. That's a business one. That's a different reason. That's a different reason.
But actually,
some of the work you were doing at the business you were in was around mental health.
Yes.
And that for me is I think that for me working with women, I often find that if a lady or a female, or in fact anybody's mental health is not great and they're dealing with, it can be small issues or it could be really big issues. They're either using food or not being honest or not able to achieve their goals because they're not effectively free. They're not talking about what's going on.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you were doing, how was that kind of, I suppose, helping people achieve their goals?
So if I use it from a personal experience first, and then I'll see how I put that into... So around about the time that the business was created, which was actually 2016, but it was like little bits, and then 2018 is when it really changed. 2017, 2018, my mental health took a landslide.
Okay.
Now, my daughter had been born in 2016, and we would say that then the pressures of parenthood, but then things that I'd experienced in the army that had effectively lay dormant started to come to light.
Okay.
I was diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder end of 2018.
Right.
And it just spiraled really quickly.
Okay.
Now, there were two things. You've got...
How did it, like, show itself? What was it?
It started showing itself in nightmares, in psychotic episodes, which at the time were unexplained because I did not have a clue what was going on.
Okay.
I'd almost phase out and then come back.
Okay.
And then just irrational fear. So not able to go on walks with the family, not able to go to the park, just not functioning.
No.
But not functioning at home, effectively a safe space, and then coming into work and putting on a face.
Okay.
Now,
so the bravado.
Yeah, and the way this links then into the fitness and how I started to understand a little bit more about myself was my fitness was through the roof.
Okay.
So I was used as a coping mechanism almost. I was probably the best shape I'd been in a long time, since the army, really.
Yeah, of course.
And that was helping to a certain extent.
Because it was masking what really is going on. It's like, if I do this, almost a control.
Yeah. And
so again, like food, people use...
Well, my food, like everything, my nutrition was on point, my training was on point, but I was a bit sort of high octane. Now, if we talked about car, for instance, you could have the best vehicle in the world, but if you run it 80 miles an hour every time you go out, at some stage... It's
going to go bang.
That is going to go.
Yeah.
It can look as good as it needs to look, and it can have these fancy things on it, but at some stage it's going to crack. And that's effectively what started to happen.
Okay.
I then started... cancelling sessions. I wasn't the trainer that I was. I wasn't helping people. I started to really go in on myself. I become really introverted. My social life completely changed.
Oh my God.
And so a huge
then that
impact.
impacted on home life, or
home life, massive impact on home life.
Okay.
And life then just started to really unravel. The fitness and the food then started to collapse.
Okay.
So my control over food was gone, and then it became binging as much as I could at a time.
Like, so did your weight fluctuate then? Did you
weight started to fluctuate, everything started to fluctuate. No sleep, working 14, 15 hour days, to then not sleeping because of the nightmares, sleep paralysis, which is if you've...
I've never had that.
So scary, like
so
really scary. Effectively, it's like putting 3D glasses on a nightmare, and it becomes very real.
What? And you just laid there, like...
Yeah, and you cannot move.
Are you asleep, or are you like...
It feels very like you're very awake.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then some of the psychotic episodes were, constant screaming, children screaming. And it wasn't until I started therapy that then I started to realise the links from that and what had happened at a younger age when I wasn't a parent.
Yeah, okay.
And actually they were traumatic, but at the time I could sort of put them to the back of my mind.
Yeah, because you didn't have children.
Yeah.
You didn't have that.
So what I started to learn about myself throughout all this process is actually that the fitness and the nutrition side of life can only serve me to a certain point.
Okay.
And it was very much dictated on how my mind was. Okay. So if my mind wasn't in the right place, well then say goodbye to me eating well and like nutritional stuff for my body that would fuel me for the exercise, and actually it all started to fall by the wayside. Okay. So I started to then look at my coaching slightly differently and note that I wasn't then PTing anymore, I was now coaching. Yeah. Because when a client would then come to me, it'd gone from like, let's give you resilience and get you through this, make you robust. Like, I don't need to make robust soldiers for war anymore.
No, you need to make robust people or resilient people for life.
For life. And so then I started to look at different routes, and I started to be a bit more compassionate to the people that were coming through the door. Yeah. And for the people that were coming through the door then and were yo-yo dieters, instead of then
beating them up,
or just, the industry itself, they almost don't want people to get better because they make money off people. So it's actually, if we can coach them properly, am I the right coach for you at this time? Is there someone better that can help do that? Or are we approaching it all wrong? Yeah. So if someone come to me with a yo-yo diet, I wouldn't then start trying to manage their diet. I would look at the reason that they were yo-yoing in the first place.
Yes.
Okay, you've got a history of yo-yo dieting where you're really on it and your exercise is good, and then you fall by the wayside again. So are we using food as a coping mechanism? That's right. And we start to unravel different parts. And that was the biggest changing point for me.
And this is what I say to our ladies is, if you're not right up there, it's very hard for you to get on point. Yeah. And you might be on point for, say, You might be on point for 6 months. You might be really good, and then something will happen.
Yeah.
And that's the resilience in you that as you work through maybe traumas or issues or just things that have changed, then you can become more resilient. And that yo-yo dieting may get shorter or less or... but people use lots of things. They don't just use food. They use exercise. It's a prime one as well. They use variety of drugs, alcohol, all of those. All of those are coping mechanisms. And
this is probably one of the biggest things that I think isn't taught to young PTs. So they go through the course. A lot of it effectively is open book.
And that can be the problem with really, really super young PTs is they've not had any life experience themselves. So therefore, it's very hard for them to talk about that life experience that you've had that might help them to be a bit more resilient.
Yeah, definitely.
And to talk about your own experiences about what's happened, deaths, divorces, marriages, children.
and that's it. And this
menopause.
One of the big things with PTs is I learned very quickly that if I could actively listen, so to sit back and listen to someone, to have no answer effectively.
If you don't know the answer, be honest.
If I've got a mum of two sat with me, and at the time when I left the army, I was 24, 25, I cannot empathise. Sorry, I can empathise to a certain point, but it's mainly sympathy that I can
because you're like,
I don't know what you're going through.
You're like,
what do you mean you can't get up at 7 a.m. and prep 10 meals and go and train and go to this
until you've
and now as a parent of two.
No, I literally today, this is funny, right? So today, my husband is obviously living abroad with my child in doing a parenting thing. We're not split up. He happens to be out there with my son, helping him to achieve his goals. So I live here with Georgina. And I haven't felt great the last couple of days. And upstairs were two buckets of washing. I felt like crap. I had to bring them downstairs. The dogs were eating chewing gum off the floor. And I just thought to myself, hat off to all those single parents who've been doing this for years. Hat off to you all. Because I've only been doing it since August. And I don't have a hard life. It's just where you think, would someone just give me a hand? And I just, hat off to you. So I understand and have more empathy with the thought of, like today I thought, I don't care about going to the gym. Well, I do. In my head, I'm like, I want to go to the gym because I don't feel well and I don't want to feel ill anymore. But if you're tired, you've been at work all day, you've got 2 buckets of washing, 2 dogs to walk, you've still got maybe a bit of work to do or whatever and cook dinner and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I get it. The gym is not the priority. The food is not the priority. So I understand, and I know I'm not saying that I haven't thought about it in the past, but all of a sudden, when you're faced with those actual experiences, you go, I get it. I get it. And that's as a woman who's 45 years old. I'm not looking at single parents. I haven't been looking at single parents thinking you're lazy or whatever. Until you experience it, you don't. You don't actually feel the reality of it. And that's very, very different.
It's a bit like, before you're a parent, and then you see someone in public.
I'm going to have to really wind the memories back for that.
Think when children are young. And then you see a parent and they lose it with their kids in public. And as a non-parent, you're like, I would not do that. Or I'm not going to be an iPad parent.
I'm definitely not going to give my kids an iPad when they're in a restaurant. We're going to talk and
start to realise
and do colouring.
Small wins here.
Oh, mate.
Small wins. And sometimes that kickoff in public is the 10th time that something's happened and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning.
And literally you're inside thinking, I might kill that child.
And you know that everyone's looking at you, judging you as well. But you can't help it.
And they're thinking, I'd have killed that kid. I'd have smacked that kid, or I'd have done this, or I'd have done that. Until you live those.
And then lo and behold, you're out with your parents because they're going to come in with some experience. They're going to come helicopter in and go, Yeah, I know.
So do you know what? Talking about parenting, I've definitely got my comeuppance with my daughter.
It's coming back.
Oh, mate, I'm done. She literally is going to be my nemesis. I mean, we're great friends, but I now I can see what my mum went through.
Is it effectively you in a younger form?
Yeah.
You seeing yourself?
Yeah, completely. Boys, vaping, drinking, and I'm literally like, So I'm trying to be the mature parent about it, and like, okay, we've got some boundaries, but I can't stop it because I don't want it to become an underground thing. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but we were in fields and drinking ciders and turning up. Yeah, we're not drunk, Mum. They probably knew we were, but you know. So yeah, and it was parties at the weekend, and we had pukers in the back of the car this weekend, which was great, you know. And so in my head, I'm like,
let it happen.
Yeah, this is that's just.
So this is actually one of the biggest things now, and this is why I think PTs need to be taught something slightly differently when working in the industry. That person that comes through the door, yes, their original goal was to get them fitter.
Yeah.
But that needs to be part of a bigger picture.
Totally.
And we want some longevity in this. We want some skin in the game.
Yeah.
They just want to come to us for 6 months and
when people get that, they get that though. Like that for me, right? So when somebody, like for us, does a 28-day program and then they don't continue and they've done well, I think to myself, you've done the hard work.
Yeah.
You have done that initial hard work. Don't give up now because the longevity of it is what will keep you, make you more resilient. It will enable you when things get tough to overcome and be a bit more resilient and robust and deal with catastrophes or mini catastrophes on a daily basis.
And that's sometimes where the confusion comes from as well, where people, in their goal setting, they set a goal and say it is to lose weight and they put a number to it. When they lose that weight and then they wonder why they're not happy at the end of it. Yeah. Because they're like, well, actually, maybe is that goal right for me? Was it the right goal in the first place? Normally, the weight is a measure. It's a good measure in the sense of you've got something to track. Yeah. But actually, it's the feeling. Yeah. It's how you feel. Whether that's, I can put on a smaller dress size, or I just feel a bit more confident, or I just feel a little happier, or that sort of thing. So last time we saw each other, you were working as a mental first aider. Yep. What does that actually entail? It's effectively teaching people to recognise signs of mental ill health, distress, or in fact just a change and offer some space for someone. Yeah. So it's not saying someone is a professional and they can go and give them therapy. No. It's not saying that you can go and give everyone advice. Yeah. Because actually you've got to be really careful with giving advice. Totally. And labeling advice. And if someone is coming with mental ill health and you're coming in with advice, then you wonder why they shut off, because they've been living with this for a long time, potentially. And you're coming in almost to wave a wand and say, we can fix this. Just go and do this. So the mental health first aid is a nice introductory way for people to look at mental health slightly differently. Okay. It's given them an opportunity to actively listen. Yeah. It's given them an opportunity to understand that there is a process to be followed, and it might give them interest in looking at where people can be signposted. So you might not have known that if you spoke to someone and they were feeling a period of depression, we're not labelling it that. No. We need to be really careful not to. But if they're in what we would say is a period of depression, and a lull in their mental health, then actually you could have a toolbox of ways to signpost them. Okay. And you never know how much of a lifeline that could be for someone. So have you had an experience, like, let's say, where you were working, where you've kind of gone, oh my God, I think this person... it doesn't sound great for the business at the time, but probably most days. You know. But, okay, so no. But in various ways. So, so in my time, when we opened that gym, in the time of being there, we had several suicidal crises. Crises? Don't know. Crises. Not necessarily within the gym, but that were happening to people at the gym. So there would be... I remember the one day this person come in with the phone. They were on a phone call to a member of staff that were dealing with someone that was at crisis point. Jesus. And they didn't know what to do. And so this is part of something that we do. We're like, okay, let's talk you through a process of how this actually works. And at that point, are you recommending, like, obviously, like at that point, are you saying we need to find somebody really we need to get you to a professional at this point? Yeah, and it's then trying to teach these people as well how, because I'm assuming you can't phone up and go, oh my God, they would literally hand me the phone.
Okay.
And then it would be me then dealing with a crisis, getting another phone, getting a crisis team involved, like all different ways of sort of working with it. And staying calm throughout it. But then the coaching that comes for the people that have come in with that phone in the first place afterwards, because that's quite traumatic for them.
Of course it is.
And it very quickly realised, if you think of physical first aid, there are so many courses out there for physical first aid that people are aware of and they go and attend because they're like, well, if someone hurts themselves, I don't want that on me. I want to know that I know I can do the basics.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to say with mental health. People get scared of really serious subjects because they think they might do something wrong.
Yeah.
We're literally teaching you to help someone in the smallest way before the professionals come in.
Yeah.
And, in the gym, this was happening all the time. I could have a class of 30 in front of me and be able to pick out people that weren't quite there.
Yeah, okay.
And that's for me actually what really interested me. If someone was on it in the workout and then something shifted, is it necessarily that fitness or is something else
going on?
Played here? So then you start to, you start off small. You start to teach them how to look at a workout in a different way, how to change their mindset. If you said to someone you're doing 1,000 burpees, how do they look at that workout? Other than it's 1,000 burpees.
This is awful. I hate you.
So the gym is more than a gym. The gym should be a safe place to challenge people to go through hard things, and you've got so many opportunities to transfer life skills in a safe way.
Okay.
You can sort of turn it on and off.
Yeah.
I can push you through something that is uncomfortable. We know it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And in daily life, people seem to avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
But life doesn't stop for them.
People avoid conflict with
I love conflict.
Okay.
But not in an argumentative sense.
No.
Conflict doesn't have to... We could pick 10 subjects now and have a different opinion on each subject. But it doesn't mean we need to fall out over it. No. But why do people fall out?
I know. On Twitter, on social media, because they're all hiding behind their screens and they just can say...
So it's all of that side of thing that I started to look at and encourage different conversations.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the biggest things when you look at mental health first aid or mental health in general, is just encourage conversations.
Okay.
And be aware that people have different opinions.
Yeah.
And so when people get offended by something, in terms of, if I opened up to you and then you effectively told me to get grip, I could be offended by that, thinking there's more to it. Or I could say, you know what? Her perspective's different.
Yeah.
She's had dogs chewing in the morning.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
me just saying this is the millionth thing that's just come on her list.
Yeah,
and
she doesn't know
how to articulate, and she's like, literally, get on with it.
Yeah.
Because at some stage you do have to get on with it.
No.
Yeah. And that's it. And that is it. We'll call it action. Call it action.
Okay.
So when working with someone and when working with a client, especially when you look at mental health things, there has to be some action at some stage. Action isn't just one big act. No. It's the little things that we can do. So
small things.
Yeah, and we look at building someone's toolbox. And it's the same with fitness. You wouldn't, a day one, week one walk through the door, you wouldn't say, right, we're going to go run a marathon.
No.
But you're going to maybe you're going to chip away and build them up.
Yeah. So you start off with a 2 kilo dumbbell one week. There might be 3 legs and so on and so on and so on. And then you might feel confident to do a different style of class or do different things. Yeah. Just not about starting, you're the most fit. And again, everybody had a starting point. Everybody who's walked through the door has had a starting point. Yeah. Wherever that has been, the walking through the door is
I think if people, the biggest learning point for me through my own journey of mental health, working with different clients, working with companies, working with schools, all different people is, now I know anyone watching this can't see it, but...
Oh, they can, it's video.
Well, they can see the cup.
Yeah.
So,
I can show the cup.
So that cup...
Where's the cup there? This cup?
It's just a coffee cup.
Yeah.
But you looking at that cup looks completely different to what it looks like to me right now.
Yeah, totally.
So we've got 2 different views of exactly the same information.
Yeah.
And if you look at so many different things that have happened in the last few years that people have lived through, big things,
and everybody's got
same information, different view, different experience,
different experience.
And so if we can take that into a situation and into the gym or into wherever we go and think, okay, we have different perspective, and this is work I do with youngsters now. I go into schools and say, your generation effectively is called snowflakes. For no other reason that you were born at a certain time with so much technology and information at hand.
That you don't have to do anything.
That now all of a sudden you're called snowflakes and you're going to go work for someone that is in a completely different generation that already has that prejudgment. Yeah. And you can see where it starts to sort of get a bit more.
It's like the stuff, anything online. If somebody says something online, firstly, written word is different to spoken word. So obviously, again, that creates, well, he's being rude. Well, actually, it's just the tonality of the written word, as opposed to, I might phone you up and go, oh, no, that's fine. Somebody might read, that's fine, as, oh, she's in a mood now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, again, it's all those kind of things where people will be one view as opposed to another, looking at the same thing. Yeah. Looking at the same thing. Yeah. So now you're working with children, or going to be working with
so effectively
young people.
We'll just, we'll call it the wellbeing guy.
Okay. Brilliant. That could be a thing.
We'll call it the wellbeing guy.
Oh my God, that could be a thing.
A bit like Joe Wicks, the body coach?
Yes.
The wellbeing guy.
Sean, the wellbeing guy.
And it's just make it a bit like this, talking to people, offering them some space.
And what age groups?
So it's a mixture. I'm going to be working with parents, I'm going to be working with teachers, and then 7 to 18-year-olds. Now we're looking at children that are coming from a particularly challenging background. So we're looking at special educational needs and disabilities. Like, already prejudgments. These people each and every day live with prejudgment from other people.
Totally.
With whatever they're living with.
Yeah.
And so like really challenging, but at the same time like really rewarding.
Yeah,
and some of these parents as well,
mentally for you as well,
what they're going through every day. I think me with a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I think some people are going through real challenges.
Teenagers.
Okay.
It'll be there in a blink of an eye.
And it just, and it's coming in with my own experience and that, and being able to offer perspective.
Perfect. No, that's good. I mean, look, I think we have mental health as an idea, but as a belief, and it's become more prevalent in society. For a long time, we didn't talk about mental health, or you would say things like he's crackers, or he's got a problem, or without thinking about it. That's exactly it. You wouldn't think. And then I think if you live through experiences of people who struggle with mental health, you actually understand you've got to deal with it. You can't just, and you need to find a healthy way to deal with it, whether that's talking therapy, medication, going to your doctor, using fitness and exercise as a way of doing that too, but not allowing that to take over and become the only thing that you do. But I think that we have, as a nation, become much more aware and much more educated about mental health, and it's a good thing. It can only be a good thing. And starting young, making sure that young people are aware of it and understand it's okay to talk about how you're feeling, and if you're not feeling good or bad, then you can talk to people about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, Sean, thank you very much for coming into our podcast. And ladies, I do hope that you've enjoyed listening to us talk today. So please like, share and follow, and we'll speak with you